Hey everyone, Brian Buckosh here, Core Design Engineer with Brunswick Bowling. Today I'm going to talk to you about the amazing late summer lineup that Brunswick brought to us. And there's a lot to talk about, so let's dive right in. We're going to start with the ball that's been on the market for a little while now, and so far the results have been, don't say it, stellar. The new Brunswick Stellar is a hybrid that contains the amazing Versamax core. The Versamax core was in a number of the C-System balls back in the day, including the C-System Versamax, the one that put it on the map for its back-ending performance on medium oil conditions back in the day. That core contains a .052 differential, and that same core is in this ball now. The difference now is that this ball contains dynamic core outer core material. That's the blue stuff that you see when you drill into it. It has a higher strength to weight ratio than the standard inner core material, and that means it's not going to compress when it hits the pins, it's going to go through them and carry better. Surrounding this core is the Activator Plus 2.0 cover stock. This one isn't a hybrid, and the Activator Plus 2.0 has been on a number of strong performing releases from Brunswick, including the Vintage Vapor Zone line and most recently the Hero line. All of them have been proven winners, and the Stellar is no different. Speaking of Stellar, gotta get these puns in when I get the chance. It's the Melee Jab Midnight Blue. It contains the same melee core that's been in this lineup for ages, and it's just always a superior performer at the back of the lane in the high-end category for Brunswick. This core contains a total differential of .050, and it has dynamic core outer core material, which is the blue stuff that you heard about in the Stellar video. That means it's going to hit when it goes through the pins. New on this one is the Savvy Hook 3.0 Pearl cover stock. It's a little bit of an upgrade over the the Melee Jab Blood Red that was in last year's lineup. That had the Savvy Hook 2.0 on it. The difference is that this new 3.0 Pearl cover stock is just a little sharper when it encounters friction. So even though the Blood Red and the Midnight Blue have similar length, this one's going to be a little sharper, cover a few more boards at the back of the lane, and just be a little more overall total hook because of the back end strength than the Blood Red. So you may be asking yourself, if this one is so similar to the previous Jab releases, why do you keep changing them? And the answer is simple. The cover chemistry just has to keep up with the modern playing conditions. As the conditions evolve and the shots and the rules change, then of course we can't leave the same decade-old chemistry on the Melee series and expect that it's going to perform at its highest level. And the pros and Brunswick fans alike really trust and love the versatility of this Melee core, so it only makes sense to keep our newest chemistry on the cover. And last but certainly not least, it's the Zenith Hybrid. The Zenith Hybrid contains the same Zenith core that was found in the original and in the Pearl. That has a total differential of .052 and an intermediate differential of .019. Being the only asymmetrical of the three, it's obviously going to give you a little more mid-lane jerk. This ball of course has dynamic core just like the other two, being in the Pro Performance category. And it has Activator Extreme Hook Hybrid cover stock. Activator Extreme Hook is the same base that was on both the Pearl and the Solid, and now in this hybrid formulation, of course you're going to get the best of both worlds. This one is a little closer to the Solid in terms of total ball motion, both because of the cover chemistry and because of the fact that it's aggressively sanded like the original was. Without delay, I'm going to take you to a couple comparison charts and show you how these three balls stack up to the rest of the Brunswick lineup. This is Brunswick's Performance Index chart. You'll notice that each ball is categorized by motion shape, and the number underneath each ball represents the strength of that motion in that category. So for example, the Zenith Hybrid is a traction motion with a strength of 90, and the Melee Jab Midnight Blue is in the flip category with a strength of 83, while the Stellar is in the flip category with a strength of 77. This chart contains every release in the Brunswick lineup for an entire year. They're sorted by oil volume on the bottom from lightest on the left to heaviest on the right, and on the y-axis by response to friction, with our sharpest responding balls toward the top of the chart and our smoothest responding balls toward the bottom of the chart. You'll see all three new summer releases highlighted in yellow. Despite the fact that it's a hybrid, the Zenith Hybrid is built to handle a fairly heavy amount of total oil volume. It fits on the line between a strong and a smooth reacting ball, which is a little smoother than typical hybrids, that actually plays to the strength of this ball. Like the Zenith Solid before it, this one is a hook monster. This one obviously gets through the fronts a little better because of the nature of the hybrid cover stock, but it's very aggressively sanded at 500, 1000, 1500, which means that it's going to have plenty of traction for even the heaviest of oil conditions. It has a little more shape in the belly of the lane than a Zenith, and hooks maybe just a little less overall because it gets through the heads just a little bit better, but overall this one is definitely built for heavy oil. This could be advantageous if you're a low rev player. I could definitely see you having both a Zenith and a Zenith Hybrid in the bag as your top end asymmetrical balls. The Zenith Hybrid is going to be very versatile on a wide variety of medium, heavy to heavy oil conditions for all player styles, but especially for low rev players. I can also see high rev players or even two-handed bowlers using this ball because even though it's a hybrid, it doesn't jerk off the friction like a lot of the hybrids do. You'll notice that compared to like a Prism Warp, for example, this ball is a lot different, a lot lower on the chart, which means it's going to be a lot smoother in nature. That also means it's going to be more controllable, even though it hooks more in total boards. Coming back around to what I was saying about two-handed players, I feel like they could use this as their strong asymmetrical ball and not have to have a solid on top of it. It gives them a little more length and a little more versatility than a standard solid asymmetrical ball might. Whenever we come out with a jab, I feel like I don't have to say too much about them, other than they're so popular and people like the ball motion so much that we just keep coming out with them. This melee jab, of course, is built to handle a medium and some medium-heavy oil conditions, and fits on the line between a strong and sharp motion. It's one of the sharpest motions that you're going to get out of a symmetrical ball at the back of the lane, and it is just a little bit sharper than the melee jab Blood Red from last year. It's going to be an amazing benchmark ball to build an arsenal around, albeit it might be a little sharp overall for a benchmark ball, but if you take the compound off of it and smooth it out, it's going to help read the mids just a little bit earlier and blend out the back end motion. That's going to make it a perfect symmetrical ball to fit right in the middle of your arsenal. It's easy to fit a strong symmetrical ball like a Knockout or a strong asymmetrical ball like a Zenith Hybrid or a Zenith Solid right above it. If you need a little more back-end motion and a little more strength in the mid lane overall, then a Zenith Pearl is going to complement this one. The asymmetry is going to make that Zenith Pearl kick a little harder and a little earlier in the mid lane, although they have similar length. And of course, then there's Stellar, which is the natural step down from a melee jab. I've been describing the Stellar to people as a baby midnight jab. Basically, it is a hybrid, but it has a real clean cover on it, and of course with the compound finish, same as the midnight jab, you're going to get lots of length and a strong response to friction. Compared to the midnight jab, it's easily 3 to 4 boards less in total hook. It's going to get a little cleaner down the lane and make a slightly rounder motion off the spot, but to my eye, this Stellar makes the exact same motion on medium light conditions that the midnight jab would make on medium heavy conditions. It's going to be easy to make these two balls a 1-2 combination. The other advantage of the Stellar is that, simply, if a melee jab is too much ball for you, or you've always loved the motion but you can't stay with it because it's too angular, too strong off the spot, your house doesn't put out enough volume, you tend to see a lot of friction early in the mid lane, whatever the case may be, then you'll have the advantage of the Stellar, which is going to give you that same jab motion. It's just going to work on more light conditions and just be more versatile on lighter patterns, later in the day, all of that. I could easily see this being a ball that you want to dig in on a house shot when they're burnt up at the end of a set and kind of finish out the day by going away from the pocket a little bit and watching the ball get off the friction. That's the information I have on these 3 new releases in the Brunswick lineup. That should be enough to keep you striking well into the start of the league season. These are available in pro shops worldwide right now. While you're here, make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels, Bowling Buckosh. Feel free to drop a comment below, I'm happy to respond. And of course, check back often because I'm making new videos as new releases from the brands of Brunswick come out. So until next time, thanks for watching.